Hey everybody, this is Michael once again. All right, so this quote is another one of my favorites. This one is by John Stuart Mill. So, he once said, "A person may cause evil to others, not only by his actions, but by his inaction. And in either case, he is justly accountable to, to them for the injury." Now, I strongly agree with this quote. In fact, this is the first, I mean, this is one of the first times I've heard that from John Stuart Mill in that particular phrasing. I actually have a tattoo where it says, "The apathy of good men is as guilty as the actions of evil men." Kind of like if you're supposedly a good person, you need to be actively working against evil things. So, like, I mean, if in a way, like, let's say you're walking down the street and you see like this little old lady getting robbed. Now, I'm not saying you should put on a cape and go dispense justice, but what you do need to do is actually take some measures to help that person out. Because if she gets her purse stolen and you just kind of watch, you're like, oh man, hey, yeah, and that is not necessarily the best thing, because I mean, you didn't do anything bad, but you didn't do anything good. uh, but you can argue that you allowed that evil to happen, so which then makes you compliant. And that's even a legal precedent where if you are, if you allow a bad thing, you are compliant or unwillfully engaging, and that is something we got to be, careful of, is to allow what actions. And so, then there was, a kind of a social movement talking about this, of like, um, I guess it was the Me Too movement, where people were speaking up about sexual misconduct, which is good. We should always be speaking up against that, and just kind of any kind of misconduct. Like if someone's being racist, call them out on it. But let's also temper our passions, as always. I feel like I'm just kind of saying this just kind of as a disclaimer, just because again, like, I don't, in no way is this encouraging anyone to put on a mask and cape and go dispense justice in the streets. No, 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 no. Um, do things to help the situation get better. A little lady's getting robbed, yell at the robber, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Sometimes that's all that's, and they look, "Oh God," and then they just take off. I've literally been in this scenario. Sometimes all you have to do is shout at them, and they just take off because they're not looking for confrontation. Hence the reason why they're going after the little lady and her purse. Um, but we can't let bad things happen and still claim to be good people. It's that simple. Like, there, if we always talk about being good, being, what makes a superhero. Well, a superhero does what they can to help other people. And that's what a hero in general does. And that's, I feel is really important to keep that in mind, that we have to constantly strive and constantly work towards the good things, because the evildoers of the world are constantly trying to get a leg up on the people. That's where you get those scummy businessmen who, stay late at the office, who are devising ways to get more money from the people, or from their customers, or to try and entrap them somehow, some way. And that is why that saying of, there's no rest for the wicked exists, because I mean, it's kind of a double-edged thing where, not only will they ever not find rest because they're kind of generally evil, also the wicked will never rest, because they're always scheming, they're always trying to scam somebody, trying to assert their dominance, trying to do something like that. And so I feel like the best way to finish out that sentence is, there's no rest for the wicked, nor for the good people that pursue them. Because I mean, we can't allow bad things to happen, or it'll just continue to get worse. And you certainly can't say, "Oh, I'm a good person," and then they're like, "Okay, cool. What good did you do today?" That's a very easy question. So ask yourself that. Like, all right, if I'm a good person, what good did I do today? If you can't think of that, okay, well, what about yesterday? Okay, and maybe just go back a week. Let's not don't go any further than that. Just because that's memory can kind of get muddled and situations. But then if you don't feel like you're doing good, if you don't seem like you don't really have any evidence of, trying to be helpful, well, plan out your day tomorrow. Just be like, hey, I'm gonna, and it doesn't have to be life changing. Everyone, again, I'm not saying that you should put a mask on and cape and go save the world. Like Dr. Jordan Peterson once said, the easiest way is to simply clean your room. Fix your bed. Do the dishes, and that's a good start. And then you have your home in order. You can then go outside and maybe clean your neighborhood. And then from there, as we kind of practice self-care, self-regulation, and self-love, we can then continue on, and then the goodness of our hearts will then not only flow from into our living spaces, but then out of our living spaces into our communities. And if you build a strong community, you build a strong nation. And that's what I believe. John Stuart Mill is talking about, is the fact that if you allow bad things to happen, bad things will happen to you, because no one, it's becoming a normal thing, a trend to allow those bad things to happen. So that's how you get, good, innocent people suffering for no real reason. I mean, like, how many predatory, loans has America been in debt to? I'm definitely one of the countless, many. What about, these women who, who get sexually abused, and people who try and speak up, for it, they get their career shut down, or they get, and I'm one of them. I worked at a company where a few female workers approached me and asked me to give a witness statement, and you know, I said, yeah. I said, absolutely, I will totally do this. Um, Unfortunately, it turned out I was the only witness statement, and they did ask other people, and these other people did agree to it, but when time came to it, many of them didn't want their careers to be in jeopardy. Understandable. But I felt strongly about this, and especially since this particular person, we were taking HR to, or bringing HR's notice to, however you want to phrase it. Um, I felt, that we needed to help these girls out, because he would sexually harass them, in the smallest of ways, those micro transgressions, I guess you call it, because a couple of times I remember one young lady, she was really cool, very responsible, and this particular employer just kept piling work on her, and to the point where she was getting really stressed out, and it was a pretty stressful company, because it was like we had multiple projects going on, and instead of kind of evenly divvying them out, she just kind of started getting dogpiled, and just because life happens sometimes, she fell behind, just because it was nothing of her fault, and it was not because of the workload, just because, we worked in IT, and, with computers, they're kind of like old gods, there are lots of rules and no mercy. If you break a rule, that's it, it'll stop working, and you may not know why. But she was regularly asked by this man, when she showed any kind of emotion, hey, are you on your period? Is that what's going on? And I could not believe that. The tenacity of this man to ask a female employee that, let alone, especially when they show any kind of emotion, and apparently this was very common. And I just could not. I didn't really like the guy. He was very slimy, and and this is just one of many examples he provided. And so, when they asked me, hey, can you help us out? Can you provide this witness statement? Absolutely. But then I was the only one who gave a witness statement. Everyone else who apparently said they would, we all said, okay, on this date, we're all going to submit it, so that way HR gets flooded with all these witness statements, and and we're going to CC the CFO and CEO, and so that way they all going to be in it, and that way we were trying to be completely transparent as as the employees, as the labor force, and no one did it. No one owned up to it except for me. So therefore, I became the problem employee. I became the issue, and Um, I didn't continue. I was not allowed to continue my employment at that place because of my problematic nature and all that. If you're wondering about what happened to the women, many of them were transferred out of the department, given nice little pay bumps or little promotions, whatever you want to call it. And I was shown the door. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like the normalcy of society is that people didn't want to jeopardize their job, and so that dude is still in the position. I have a buddy who still works in that department in that company, and he says that he's gotten. They've essentially kind of built up walls around him and made him like isolated, but it still goes on. Apparently they had two female employees recently quit under his, supervision, and that's what I'm talking about. Is because no one has ever called him out because it was socially acceptable just to kind of like, oh well, don't talk about it. You don't want to lose your job. That is how this man was able to get into power and abuse the female employees under him and continue to do it. And now he's making six figures easily, and has no problems. He still go. It just that's the problem. It's because people who call themselves good people aren't willing to do the good thing. And if you're not willing to help out and do good, and you just let things happen, you are just as guilty as them, as the evil people who push that action, because you have to at least call them out on it. But yeah, I mean, pick your battles at the same time. I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying to go put a mask and cape on and go start jumping off ledges or anything like that. Nor am I saying, go call out every little bit of thing. Open that dialogue, open that discussion, and try and be like, hey, why did you say this? What made you think this was appropriate for you to say to this female employee? And listen to what they say. And, if they if they don't understand, explain it to them. And if, or if they simply are like, well, I said this because it was like, well, you know what? It wasn't appropriate and that will not be tolerated. Well, but so we'll close it. So John Stuart Mill, again, a person may cause evil to others, not only by his actions, but his inaction. In either case, he is justly accountable to them for the injury. So, I hope everything's going well for you guys. I do enjoy making these videos, and I will keep pumping them out. So, best of luck. Take care.